Welcome to Gems with Shom, a show about beat digging, records, and other things. Today, I'm joined by Andrea Galtieri, extraordinary beat digger, Italian library record specialist, and one of the co-founders of Sonor Music Editions, whose reissues super rare Italian library records and soundtracks. Part of the reason why I started this show was to learn from experts about music from around the world. Andrea is certainly that, not to mention a super nice guy. Thanks for joining me, brother.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. So we were put in touch through a friend of the show, Mike Wallace, one of our first guests, fantastic musician, deep record collector. What I didn't realize when he made that introduction, that you and your label, Sonor Music, are directly responsible for flooding my streaming platform with amazing Italian funk, soul, jazz that I've never heard of. So you're the one. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, this has been a very huge and deep work, and proudly that more people are just digging into that sound. So it's just a discovery, like the music, no? It's like a journey. So that's all about. That's all about.
I love it, brother. I mean, I give you a lot of credit. I've been looking forward to having you on. Italian libraries and Italian soundtracks, it's like a subgenre of a subgenre, right? It's a specific place in the world of digging. It's something I know very little about. I feel like there's so much to learn, and it's like a new frontier when it comes to the kind of digging from a Western world, from the US. So many titles are hard to find in the US. Stylish cover art, typography, sometimes risque covers. They have a air of mystery and sophistication, which I really love. Not everyone can have an OG of these records. So I think it's great that you're helping to popularize this stuff.
Yeah, as most of the people, there are two kind of people that are passionate or discovered in a certain way the library music stuff or the library music phenomenon in general. The ones which were very passionate about the cover design, which is very unique, very design inspired of the 70s, and the people who dig deeply into the sound of that library, because not every library record is actually pretty good. This is one of the main mood and type of music that we produced in the 70s. But when you go deep, you understand the real journey of the music and the Italian heritage itself. Most of the musicians, they used to play with the very famous artists of Italy, and they were composers, and they express their identity through the music, just to follow what has been the huge phenomenon of the 70s, which was the music film industry, the documentaries. We have the Rai, the famous Italian broadcaster who used to be like a huge content machine. And they were free to express their identity through the music, free to imagine the fusion between jazz, folk, traditional Italian music, and such blend make library music so famous to many people today and producers as well.
I think our listeners are going to love this episode. There's so much to learn. Also, you're a tremendously interesting guy, Andrea. So it's going to be great.
Thank you so much for that. I love so much what I do, actually, Shom. So that's why I'm very passionate when I talk about Italian stuff. My story, I think, tell you and explain you why I'm so deep into the Italian music stuff. So that's why I love them so much.
All right, let's get into it. You're a man of the world. Where in Italy did you grow up?
Yeah. I grew up in Sicily, actually. My parents used to live there. My father moved to Milan for job reasons. So I followed him several times when I was young. But in general, our big house is still in Sicily, where both my parents are retired. and there is still my, my whole world start there, basically. My father was more passionate into a very strange blend of music. So from the easy listening of Fausto Babetti, for example, to Beatles, Bob Dylan, Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, so most of the rock music pop and rock music famous at the time. While my mom, she was very nostalgic, so romantic. She used to listen to Lucio Battisti, Lucio Dalla, so famous pop musicians. So, end of 60s and beginning of 70s. And I grew up also with my brother, who is 9 years older than me. Um, he was my real first contact in music, actually, because he was more, uh, you know, he was like more into the Beastie Boys, Run DMC, but also famous pop and rock band of the time, like U2, REM, or Nirvana. Such blend of stuff was my very first exposition to music. But as all the children of the time, my very first impact was movies like, Beat Street, Breaking. I don't tell you Wild Style because Wild Style is 79, so was more for my brother, something that I discovered later. But Beat Street was huge. I had a huge impact in my foundation. And this is what probably gave me the reason to start listening to such kind of music and allow me to discover more through music. So I start buying a lot of rap music of the time. In the 90s, rap music was huge phenomenon across the globe. Not only famous artists like Tupac, B.I.G. or stuff like that, but also all the Nervous stuff, or Smith and Wesson's more New York underground stuff, EPMD, and of course the foundation, the golden area of hip hop, right? So, Grandmaster Flash, Furious Five, Sugar Gang, Rapper's Delight had a huge impact on me the first time I heard that. Not only for the break, but this is something that inspired my obsession for b-boys movement, for breakdance, looking for samples, the planet rock stuff of Africa Bambaataa, looking for the perfect beat. So the whole philosophy behind the searching of great records, obscure one, covering the label to play something people never heard before. And this has been the very first approach to music. At the time, I was like 14, 15 years old, and I remember a couple of friends brought me some mixtape from the States, like Kid Capri, stuff like that. And pretty much the style of such production were very much focused into the black music of the time, like James Brown, Curtis Mayfield, a lot of stuff, Temptation, Commodores, a lot of stuff that we usually listen to, also in the B-Boys competitions. That has been the music I played every day, right? But I found myself a bit annoyed about that because I still have my, the foundation collection. Right? So this is the most classic music stuff, R&B, jazz, funk, James Brown, all the Curtis Mayfield, all Green, whatever. But I found out that I was missing something that created me a sort of identity, right? And that was probably the first input where I put a lot of effort to find something into the Italian music stuff. At the time, I remember I used to find a big stack of Lessiman, a famous composer, acronym of Paolo Renosto. And it was like Here and Now, huge influential record on me, which had this such very long track with huge drum on it. It was like 3.5 minutes, only drums. And that made me the idea to bring together both worlds. And I was a bit shy because people were not very much exposed into other kind of culture. Uh, if you remember, like the Battle of the Year or the main B-Boys competition with the Rocksteady crew, New York City Breakers, most of the stuff played by DJs were like Black American stuff, right? So the idea to mix both together has required a lot of time. And I remember there has been a perfect moment in which I realized that I was very right on my decision. Was like a battle of the like 95 or 96, where for the first time the Japanese crew are fighting against the US Dream Team. The DJ was playing a track that I remember. I said, "Oh, I have that one. I'm pretty sure I have that track," and was Gangster Story out of a soundtrack of Stelvio Cipriani. In that exact moment, I realized that I had to dig down so deep to create something very, very unique. I didn't expect myself to find out that a lot of producers, years and years later, they start discovering the Italian stuff using for sampling purpose or to make huge beat or to make great track out of that, because this was very small Italian phenomenon, right? Uh,
Can we touch on
and
that for a second? So you heard this song, Gangster Story. You heard this at the battle. How did it make you feel?
uh, I went crazy. Literally, I went crazy because I remember the Japanese guy was literally flew in the air with a very crazy movement, and then goes down into windmill, and it was literally flowing in the air. And that track is very peculiar because it's like a very fast movement. It's like a sweet, but played in a very fast way. Pam, pam, pa, la, ba, 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 pam, pam, pa, la, ba, la, ba, pam, pam, pa, la, ba, ba. And, it was playing like James Brown before, and then shift into Stelvio Cipriani immediately after, right? And that connection opened a completely different perspective in music for me. But not only, I tell you, brother, not only in terms of um, music introduction, because literally for me it was really much an introduction into the Italian library and soundtrack music production. I was very young, 16 years old, something like that. But literally also had a huge impact in my way to uh, approach my life, my way of digging. Um, Japanese culture at the time was very popular and huge. Uh, I remember traveling in Italy for the big record fair, and it was very common to find Japanese dealer looking for, Italian jazz music or soundtrack or library stuff. We were very late on that. They were like ages ahead of time. And that changed completely my approach into music, the record digging, the philosophy behind that, and exploring more. Uh, it's like when you are in a bookstore and you're trying to find the best book for, the ideal night with a good glass of wine, the good music, not television at all. I'm getting very old for that. Uh, and you recover yourself. You are in a very intimate moment with yourself, your consciousness, right? How you judge that book. The first one for library music was the cover design. Amazing. A such form of inspiration, actually. Uh, and this is just because they made music basically for every moment of the life. For fashion, for design, for the southern condition, for the arts, for the food, whatever. And that brought you to understand, and there's a certain point where you want more and more and more. It's never enough. This is like great digger mentality. Records are never enough. You want more and more and more every day. You just spend like 10 grand on a record, and you could be in pace with yourself, but actually you want more. uh, Such kind of, when you are hungry, this is a sign that you are good at what you are doing. Uh, that's everything. That's everything for me, because music is like a journey. There are just people who like to show the best records or the most expensive one they have in their collection, and they miss the foundation. You, if you miss the foundation, you can understand the heritage of a culture. You are very close with your mentality. You don't travel, and that's not for me. So when I was 18 years old, I finished my graduation at school. I decided to move to Milan. Had certain period where I live in London. I spent like 1 year in London. I spent 2 years in San Francisco. And America in general had a huge impact in my way to explore music. I'm very passionate about Black music heritage, the creativity behind jazz music. And there's no perfect place in the world where you should be. Actually, it's in the States, right? New York at the time was like had a huge impact on me. For example, I visited the Paul Winner Records, where Tanya was selling mixtape cassette, hands on hands, and you can just find the Golden Flamingo 12 ink for like $1. So eventually, 2 blocks ahead from where you are, you can find a young guy selling maybe for $2 the first younger generation 12 ink that actually is the Grandmaster Flash before they were known with that name, right? And there's no other way you can discover that, because at the time internet was very there wasn't the huge exploitation we had today, right? Now today we live in a world that is connected every day, every seconds, every hour. We are connected with everything, just like me and you.
Yeah.
We talk about that, but actually we are just separate part of the world with different degrees, with different weather and stuff like that. But we are still there talking about what we like, our passion, right? And I brought back all my experiences here, my collection, right? That's why I don't like to have huge collection full only of rare stuff or impossible things that you have to pay a lot of money on that. Of course, I like them, but this is not necessarily the foundation of my music discovery. Today, for example, I like to organize music based on travels, my journey through the world, uh, from Africa, Korea, Mexico, Cuba, Japan, uh, Eastern Europe. And this is allowing me to make more connection with the music that I like. That is the Italian ones, right? So soundtrack or library music. Um, and the impact that the Western and Eastern world had in the way we produce music in the 70s is not common. But if you listen to some records of Alessandro Alessandroni, who is one of my favorite composer, actually the second most important guitar player of Morricone Orchestra, you can listen the influence of Black jazz records music into that. And you don't have to travel with your mind understanding why yes, why not, what's happening. You are telling bullshit. No, that's true. That music had a huge impact also in the Italian jazz scene. And in the way they had the freedom to execute the music as they want, actually they get empowered by other music sources. And that made that music so impressive today. That's for me the meaning of record collection, creating connection between cultures, between uh, people, between different sounds blended together. Uh, and that's what make me feel alive in the way I collect and expose myself to music. You know, I'm a worker, so every time we travel, I mostly travel for my job, and I have my wife coming with me, and the time we spend together, sometimes is at the record store. So I have to pay that attention to her, right? Uh, so we build our houses in the way we can share music together. We have some moment in which we take care of ourselves, sharing some good records, good bottle of wine, or good food, or with friends, or just alone in the sofa, or whatever should be the situation. So music has been something that always embraced my way of living, and still is that way, still today.
I can feel your passion for music, for life, and it's really inspirational to me. So I love it. So I,
Appreciate that, brother.
yeah, of course, of course. I think it's cool how you mentioned how your ear developed. I think those early stories of breakdancing, hearing breakbeats, and finding where this music came from, and I think that makes sense because you have a really attuned ear when it comes to finding this music. You're going through a ton of old music, right? That is masters, other things where you're sifting through to find out what is the best shit. That's deep level of beat digging. And it helps to know what drew you to this.
Appreciate that because man, uh, you need a lot of dedication. Um, I'm conscious that we live in a world where everybody are exposed in a certain way to social networks or the broader mainstream culture, and we all look the same. But actually, inside us, I know that every one of us has some reason to do that, to sacrifice your saving money to invest in records, and this is something that it makes sense for you and make you feel happy. That's all about the story. Doesn't matter if it's a $1 record or $10,000 record. That doesn't matter, really. Doesn't matter. I have so many cheap records in my collection, and I don't care because I love them so much. I listen to them every day.
Yeah.
And probably this is something that save our culture, not only in preserving the musical legacy of an artist, of a movement, of a country, of an heritage, but in certain way create the basis for your next level into the listening experience, right? Uh, if you want to understand the Tropicalia movement from Brazil, doesn't matter if you start from Arthur Verocai 10K album, or you start from $10, $5, the Joao Donato album. It's better that you start from the foundation because you start understanding what Tropicalia movement was for the Brazilian people, for the Brazilian continent, and the way it exploded into other kind of genres. Exactly the same with the Italians. I remember once Alessandroni at home, he told me, we Italians, we are people of canzonette. There's no English word to translate that word, but basically he was referring to the fact that we had a very long tradition of popular music. Uh, Mario Merola, a lot of famous artists, right? But they actually is traditional Italian music without any proper exploitation of funk or jazz or breaks or something like nothing. It was just singing the love, singing the Bella Vita, the beautiful life, singing. This is the Italy of post-World War, of the Renaissance after the war, okay? And there has been a moment that was like 40 years in which we made a lot of transformation in the way Italians used to listen to the music. Was not easy, and television, for example, was one facilitator of the cultural changes. And the first library music production started from Carosello. It was like a black and white spot, very few animation, very few products, just like a very fast slogan, nothing more, and simple music. Blah, 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 blah. The Carosello, that was, right? Imagine how much we made to transform the way we made new music. Is a cultural process. Requires a lot of cultural changes, economical changes, media changes. The television at the time was just one. The main Italian broadcasting publisher. Okay, we didn't have like a 3, 4, 6, 7 channels, just one. And that's why we were late in such transformation. And probably I understand now the impact of certain music, especially the Western music. I mean, the jazz, rock music from the Western world had into our cultural renaissance into music. A lot of Italian musicians used to play with opening the tour of famous jazz players like Alchemist, like Charles Mingus. When they used to play in Italy, the backing band was Italian. Or Amedeo Tommasi playing with Chet Baker, who also went to jail in Rome for cocaine abuse, right? So, you know, a lot happened in our culture, and such kind of transformation is very much reflected into the music. Not the popular music, which remained for a lot of time mainstream music. Not music made for exportation, but just music for the people, for the TV programs, for the theater, for the big concert or stuff like that. But the real transformation was with the production music. That's why the library music itself is seriously a revolution. And now I can understand what he was telling me with that word, because now I can understand how much we made to change and transform the habits of the people listening to the music. And that explains you a lot of things about that. The reason why they used the pseudonym to sign off the music. There was just one agency, which was the National TV Broadcasting System, and if you are under contract with them, you cannot do your own with another label or by yourself. That's the the bridge between your status quo and your freedom. That together is a blend that created the movement itself. It's not very much with the soundtrack, for example. Soundtrack is something very different. Library music and soundtrack are two kind of different phenomena, contaminated but different. Library music is intended for TV production itself, to make a sync with the content of a TV production, documentaries or sport or whatever. Soundtrack is made for the movie. So there is a movie director which put you under contract, and you record, you put down notes for that specific content and nothing else. we have several examples on how we made that influential for the world, right? Uh, we passed from the romantic, melodic music of Travaglioli, Morricone, to the more aggressive sound of Goblin. And I mentioned that because I know you like that. But Goblin has been like an atomic bomb in our culture, music revolution, right? Because what is weird about that album, Profondo, which
Yeah.
I know you like the most,
Yeah.
is not very much the fact of how they made that music, because the movie itself is crazy, it's weird, totally weird.
Yeah.
Okay, I know it's
I love it.
totally
It
weird,
is totally weird,
but
and I love it.
yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
But the fact that the music was supposed to be written and composed by Giorgio Gaslini.
Okay.
Gaslini is the master of jazz musicians. Okay, he's from Milan, but another completely different approach to music. We are talking about jazz master. The day they started recording the music, they replaced Gaslini with Goblin. Like actually, they were creating the Goblin out of Sherified, which was a progressive rock band from Rome, and they played completely different music, so nothing compared to Goblin. And what made this recording so amazing is thinking about how should be that soundtrack if we keep the original music of Gasolini, because he wrote the music and Goblin played it, compared to what the Goblin did. And actually, if you like or not, this is a new musical genre. Nobody played something like that before them.
Yeah.
And that has been the start of a very long collaboration with Dario Argento, which made Suspiria, which made Roller, Il
Best.
Bagarozzo Mark. Yeah,
Best.
a
Best.
lot. A lot. And every record that you listen from them is a completely different approach to their idea of music. They keep the tradition of jazz, long, sweet, and composition with the melodies, but that creepy sound that always, bring you into the scene and then discard you immediately after with a very long passage through the exploitation of the music. Never heard something like that before. Never heard.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
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 It's so out there. It's so out there. When I first discovered Argento, Suspiria, and then all of these records, it was so mind-blowing. The world, the style, it was surrealistic and just wild. And I thought it was just an insane collaboration of style and sound and horror. It
Yeah.
was hard drums, deep bass lines. I love it to this day.
Yeah, and also think about albums like Roller.
Yeah.
Roller is immediately after the Suspiria one.
Yeah.
So 75. Suspiria should be 77. Roller, for example, has been a change in the way they used to play music, right? So from that very long progressive rock music into such blend of rock and disco music. And it's weird because, okay, from the other side of the world, Studio 55 or stuff more mainstream stuff, they had a huge impact also worldwide, but there wasn't no real disco phenomenon in Italy, right? And the way they imagine that blend is something completely new, and new because such music is not intended to be played in a discotheque. Yeah. and that's crazy. And I'm not surprised that a lot of, if it wasn't like this Cinebox label, probably it was like a small underground, small label, probably the recording would be discarded because you don't have the power to sell that music worldwide. And actually, think about that. Goblin went very famous actually many years after.
Yeah. I mean,
Now
they're
we have
touring
like
today. It's
20,
2025 and they tour now.
yeah, yeah. Now we have like 25 different deluxe editions of Goblin, Suspiria, Profundus, or whatever. But at the time, we had just one record. And that's all about, right? And probably, I don't know, maybe they sold like 6,000-7,000 copies, something like that. But it's still very underground phenomenal.
It's what helped make this kind of music popular with beat diggers to this day. And I have a personal relationship. When I was around 21, 22 years old, I was going to school in the UK and I traveled to Italy and I was super poor, had very little
Okay.
money. And I went digging. Again, I could barely afford the trip. I could barely afford where I was staying and barely afford to eat, but I went digging. And I found a old copy of Goblin, and it wasn't an OG, but it was like a 1980s reissue,
Yeah.
early 80s. And I was so happy when I found it, and I was like, this is sick. I thought it was a dope record. I felt good, like I got something good in Italy, even though I had no money. And I was at the airport, and there was an Italian guy, and he had a giant keyboard with him. So I started talking to him, and I started asking about Goblin and other Italian music. This is a long time ago. And he looks at my record. He's like, that's not even an original. And he started like giving me shit. I was like, still, man, I'm happy. I got this record. I don't care. And I just remember like, there's so much more to learn. This is a rich world of music. And it's just my personal association. That's why I've always found like, I love Italian music. I want to learn more, but I don't know a lot. That's always been the feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this has been, of course, we have to distinguish between the oldest time with the current times. Okay, so
Yeah.
today we have a broader access to the music. It's very popular to dig online, not only to thrift store or record fairs worldwide. But at the time it was very difficult. I mean, there were very few shops when you can find such kind of music. Not all of them were very specialized into soundtrack.
Right.
There was not so huge request for such kind of soundtrack. Soundtrack in reality, they had a certain flavors among collectors, but nobody was looking for library music. In fact, it was very common to find library music. Also, what we think today are very expensive albums for very cheap, like 1-2 euros. But today, those times are over,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And this is, for example, something I found, and this is probably my favorite Goblin album.
Amazing.
Which I got directly from Simonetti. In fact, we have
God.
the autograph, and I think this has a very huge impact on me for the way we open the internal cover, and we have such kind of
Oh man, that is
crazy
wild.
stuff. Yeah, that's why,
Yeah.
really. And this is the movie director, Dario
Yeah.
Argento.
Argento. Yeah.
And this is, for example, the copy, this white label made before the official release into the Cinevox label. I don't know how many of these exist, but I haven't seen so many in other hands. This belongs directly from Goblin member, and man, that album is crazy. It's crazy because it's a visionary album. You can find samples, you can find inspiration, you can find just pleasure of listening, and eventually you can get very deep and passionate about such kind of movie production.
Oh,
Right?
I'm
It's
very
not B
passionate about it.
movies.
It's unbelievable. The typography, the colors, the music. It's a great work of art. and people
Yeah,
keep coming back to it. It's unbelievable.
yeah, yeah. And just listen to that was
Yeah.
unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
You cannot mix, classical music with progressive. What was very common at the time as key of experimentation, but not very common today to listen after 35 years, something like that. That is still fresh, still original, and still unbelievable that nobody do music like this anymore.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing
Um,
that grill with us. It feels like I'm at your
oh
house
man.
going through your grills. I mean, that's amazing. Thank you.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. But if there was a youngster today that asked me the entry records for Goblin music, for me, Suspiria
Yeah.
definitely one of the best entry in the music production. There's something very amazing, and you can find music like this anymore.
Yeah. Well, you
No.
can't. You can't. So when did you go from being a heavy collector to doing this for a living? I mean, Sonar Music Edition is very popular. It's a great thing that you've kind of come up with. I know you're one of the co-founders. There are other people involved. Lorenzo, I've been in touch with. He seems like a great guy too. How did
Yes.
you guys
Yeah.
come up with this?
Um, I tell you what was a very natural process. Both me and Lorenzo, we are record collectors. We are very passionate about library and soundtrack music. So, as most of the time happens, we exchange music. Um, we were arranging a certain trade. I give you that record, you give me that one. I don't own, and we made everything by email, and then eventually we moved the conversation over the phone. It was like 2012, pretty much. And Lorenzo was about to work on the first issue of the Sonor Music catalog. He was alone, and Lorenzo is younger than me. And there's always certain things about younger generation when they start making something new and explore, be passionate about something that you like, where you have to be respectful and be a supporter instead of an haters. Today is more easier to be an haters, but uh, doesn't work for me. So when he came out with Lo chiamavano Trinità, the first album where he found the original master tape, he transferred the music from the tapes to vinyl, finding out 6 additional tracks that were not in the original LP. Uh, man, you have to pay the dues, right?
Yeah.
You have to be respectful and support. So we start that conversation chatting about music. Lorenzo was selling records over eBay or something like that. Uh, I bought some records from him, and eventually we made like a trade with the other stuff. And I remember that conversation over the phone where he asked me, "Hey, but do you have something that you feel we can put on album? We can make a reissue, we can make something unique or blah blah blah." And at the time, I was working to acquire a huge publisher archive, the Aldo Beuzichelli, that was still alive, a publisher based in Florence, who was the producer in the 70s of the electronic music and avant-garde music of Egisto Macchi. And Paolo, the son of the founder, he called me several times telling me, okay, I found this big box of records in my parents' house. I found that one in the studio. And there's been a moment in which he called me and he said, are you still looking for records? I said, oh, yes, because I have the World Run series, but that just means one number in the series. he told me, okay, maybe I found what you are looking for, and he sent me the picture of the album via email. When I looked at the cover, I was like, oh man, what the fuck is it? And actually, this has been our first collaboration between me and Lorenzo, with the idea to the original idea of Sonor, when we made the only reissue of high quality vinyls and only reissue, was like to having several music vertical to explore, which means library music. For most of the time, when you listen to track after track, there's electronic, there's romantic composition, there's rock music, maybe there is a very long break or drums break or stuff like that. But for most of the time, it's very hard to find an organic composition, which means an electronic composition or an idea developed into electronic key from the start to the end. So I proposed him and I challenged him actually to make the reissue of Africa Minima. And Africa Minima has been our very first entry in the Sonor catalog for what is our idea of electronic music. And just because I understood that there's a lot to discover in the electronic field, more than, with big names of the industry, like Morricone, Torvaioli, or Piccioni, other big name composers, I challenged him to make that wish. Went sold out in like 5 or 6 days.
Nice.
And we start our collaboration in that way. And when I tell you collaboration is because me and Lorenzo, we share the expenses, we put our effort on the graphics, to make the master transfer, finding the master and transfer the master into tapes and make the adjustment in the studio. Was a very, very long process because I felt like I was very involved, just like it was my daughter, right? So I had to be there, had to be present with that product, because I want people to understand what we are doing. And immediately after, I introduced Lorenzo to what has been one of the precious collaboration we have till today with one of my mentor, which is a guy from Milan, Valerio, his name, who was probably the best crate digger of that stuff I have ever met till today in my life. Valerio is
Valerio.
not just a
Okay.
friend, he's just next level person. Someone who used to sell records for Egon, for Madlib, for producers when they were around Milano at the time and still today. So he was in a period where he started running several online auctions, and he put out some amazing stuff. Everybody was bidding on such auctions, and I introduced Valerio to Lorenzo to make our collaboration more solid and find out new way to create the identity of the label, exploring from electronic music, from soundtrack, from jazz music, from jazz funk music and stuff like that, and create our identity with the idea to make the label more international as possible. So not just Italian stuff, but international label with spreading the Italian sound, the vintage sound made with the same way they made in the past. Okay? And give credits to the musicians, because we are just, actually amplifying what they already did in the past, and nobody look after them. Nobody was aware to who Torossi was, who EMAC for, who they are. Nobody was aware of that. So that's the foundation of the label. We started as a reissue label. And immediately after, we changed our approach to the music, creating the catalog, which is today the the archive of Sonor Music Edition, bought the royalties from other labels, acquiring the catalog from musicians, from other labels, transferring all the tapes into the modern technology, and put the music in the World Wide Web, actually, because nobody was looking for such artists, what they did, the movies they worked for, and something like that. So today we are in reality a publisher. So we produce music, we produce new music, we produce artists, we make new music, and with the collaboration of John, from founder and music producer of Piano Piano Records, we broke the label into a next step of our evolution. Today we are a company. We make music synchronization. We work with broadcasters. We synchronize our music and have representatives in the States who bring music to producers, to broadcasters, to movie supervisors, soundtrack directors, and stuff like that. And we continue to put alive the legacy of our existence, actually, keeping alive, the good vinyl, spreading the analogic vibes, the concept around design of the cover, and put the light into forgotten soundtrack or something that we feel people should listen to. It's a job. Actually, we transform it. And think about that. We were just two people, one based in Rome, me based in Milan, chatting over the phone about dreams and what should be next, the best record for you, your favorite. That's from everything started from such kind of conversation. So at the beginning, we are passionate collectors of Italian and soundtracks, and then we develop our passion into a real job.
I think that's amazing. I think I want to give full credit to yourself, Sonar Music Edition, Lorenzo, John, everyone you mentioned, the whole crew, because you're popularizing something that's very hard to access from other places. And also, I think anyone taking a passion, you have a very special set of skills, and make it into a business, full credit to you. Now, I have a question. The part of this I find very interesting. How are you sourcing this music?
I told you before, working music is a full-time job. You can rest, or you don't have weekend or stuff like that. We were, in a certain way, very lucky at the beginning, because we were two youngsters, and considering that the average age of the musicians was like 75, 80 years old, older people, they were looking at us like with a lot of respect and curiosity, because actually we didn't make nothing for our scope, but just to give credits to the artist. In reality, with the library music production, specifically for the library music production, which has been the huge focus of the label until today, there's always a problem with the registration of the copyrights. So most of the musicians, they died, and the daughters or the wife, they didn't pay the subscription again for the registration of the rights or stuff like that. So we always propose to be partner in the from commercial perspective, and for example, you can discover that a large part of our catalog is made with the co-production with the musicians, which means that every time we sold 500 copies, we share the incomes from the sales. Okay, so that's a way for us to be to build our credibility for the artists. And in general, that has been always our approach to the music. Of course, we were also very happy to represent and work and partner with several musicians that opened the doors to other people, other composers, other copyright owner, who brought a lot of stuff to our attention. From Torossi, I remember we sat down having a lunch together with Stefano Torossi, Sandro Bergnolini, Montanari, me, Lorenzo. So we were the younger in the table, discussing about why they made the feelings, why they made this album.
Grail.
Right?
That is the best.
Okay. Discussing about stuff like that. You say, no, we made this album for international market, not just for the Italian. That's the reason why we changed the name, but actually I didn't play nothing. The music is by Giancarlo Gazzani, and they were calling the colleagues with the name. Like Giancarlo Gazzani. Oh, okay, cool. For us, they were like idols, right? They were our idols. They were our favorite musicians ever. Okay, so the same with the Umiliani, the two daughters of Piero, super very nice person. There's been a moment in which everything changed. Two moments in reality. The first one is the friendship with Maurizio. Maurizio Maiorana is the founder of the IMAR Quarter.
Okay.
Maurizio has been a pivotal element in the way we approach the label. We start thinking about the
Can I pause you for a moment, Andrea? You're calling it E-Mark Quarter. Half the people I know are calling it 1 Mark 4. So, I mean, everyone can pronounce it
in reality, the right pronunciation is E, which means the mark, because each letter is the initial name of the 4 band members. 4 because they were just 4. It's like a quartet, right? So E-Mark Quarter is the correct pronunciation, but I understood that outside of Italy, E-Mark 4 is correct. It's correct because it's the right way to be pronounced.
Thank you for clarifying. And for our listeners, for our listeners, this type of library group, E-Mark 4, is ridiculously good. Okay, it is some of the best library funk that you're going to find anywhere. Deep grooves, great musicianship. So I just want to provide that context. Go on, Andrea.
Agree because I loved them so much even before met Maurizio and Lorenzo more than me. He was very close friend to Maurizio. A little step back, just because I want people to understand that E-Mark 4 is the acronym of the name of the 4 musicians, right? So Maurizio, Antonello, Roberto, and Carlo. So their cover are very iconic because you can see the shade of that Pantone in several colors, same graphic. Most of the tracks, most of the tracks, they are just the track they played in the studio, and they made several different versions of the same tracks, some news. This particular one is one of my favorite because there's that track, Sambalto, which is amazing, like a samba, jazz, and funk exploitation of the Brazilian mood. It's like they bring you back to Rio de Janeiro in mid-70s, and you can enjoy your cocktail on the seaside, the good panorama, the great weather, stuff like that. In reality, they were the very first studio band who produced music for TV production, but with an aggressive imprint into the jazz and funk in particular movement. Um, that friendship, we of course that's of course the reason why we love them. But in general, the friendship with Maurizio has been a very long friendship in which he used also to help us to open several doors with other musicians. I remember we spent so many times in the studio, the open sound, where you can still find the drum kit played by Carlo Perez. Lorenzo used to play some drums on that, and maybe finding out some jazz musicians like Marcello Rosa or other musicians like Stefano Torossi, just coming to say, "Hey, how is going?" Something like that, because basically they are friends,
It's
right?
so crazy.
Yeah, they are friends, and and the second one, and that explains you why one of our mission has been still today is that way. We represent the whole IMA Quattro catalog around the globe. We have a subsidiaries label in the States who represent the music production of IMAC 4. We made the reissues with the supervision made by Maurizio himself, with using the instruments and technology of the open sound, exactly the same studio where they recording that music. And until Maurizio died a couple of years ago, it has been a very bad moment. It's like you miss your dad.
Sorry to hear that, brother.
From from personal professional perspective, is something that had a huge impact on us and push us to do it better and better and better. And there's one moment that I remember as being that let you understand what I feel. The moment in which Maurizio gave his whole record collection to Lorenzo. Like,
Wow.
you pass something to someone who is like your son for you. And those records never left our shelf, never be for sale, stuff, something like that. I still have my collection signed by Torossi, by Maurizio. I have picture with them. And there's a certain emotion in listening to their music, aside from genres, aside from drumming samples or stuff like that, where there is still a way for us to keep alive their legacy for the future generation.
Thanks for sharing that, brother. I think that's really thoughtful. You really care about these musicians. You're giving them new life. I mean,
Yes,
this music was not
yes,
easy to find. It's still not easy to
yes,
find, and you guys are making it popular. You befriended the true artists, and you created a real relationship. I just want to give you guys credit for that.
yeah. Yes, yeah. I appreciate that. I appreciate that you say that. Um, uh, mm, I love to talk in a very honest way during our podcast, our conversation, uh, because most of the people, most of the audience in front of us, they know us through records, but most of them, they don't know the story behind some records, uh, all the good nights and conversation we had with them, and not so luckily enough, because you just need to live like a or three very long life. Uh, we were very late on that. They were like 70, 75, 80 years old. And there has been a moment in which we understood that was right for us to find ourselves in the condition to pay the dues to those people, because we are nothing without them, right? We are just a label who put the light into a phenomenon, but we are nothing without them. So that's the way to give credit to what they did, to their genius, to their artistry, to their legacy, and think about them not like the idols, but just like good friends, despite the the gap of age in between of two different generations. And there's one thing that changed a lot to me, the perception about also, not only producing music, but also collecting such kind of music. It's just we as Italians, we do not have a great sense of heritage, especially when it comes to the music. I felt that there was a moment in which collecting all such kind of rare stuff, great album, we were losing something because we were not able to communicate to other people what those artists did in the past. And in a certain way, just because there are no written books or Bible around library music production, but it's something that the musician told you, the friend of the musician told you, someone made some recording where the musician explained a certain context around the production, the soundtrack, the movie directors, or the specific movie. We were missing that connection. And that was important to be Sonor at that time, because before us there were other labels, but most of them, for me, they are anonymous because they made music for the export, but there's no history behind that. Right now, everybody recognize the feelings by Gary Stefan and Stefano Torossi, Berniolini, because of the cover art. But at the time, nobody was even making the association between the reissue and the original cover art. Who were those names? Who they are? What Torossi did for that production? What the role of Berniolini in composing the music? Who is Stefano Gazzani? So, interact with them, give us a way to build and solve the puzzle. We were missing a lot of information. There are several albums in the Italian production where there's no credits, no sound engineer, where they were recording, no original master tapes, no transcriptions anywhere. Who know about that? We're going to be in the oblivion forever. So that was the mission. And that's why I told you, we must be always, if you like or even if you don't like, you have always to be supporter, not just haters. It's very easier to be haters, but I bet it's very hard to be supporter.
Yeah.
So that's why the philosophy of the label explains you everything that we did.
I can feel the passion in your voice, and I just want to say respect. Not everyone cares to do that. I mean, it's a business, but you're not forgetting why you started it. And I'm glad to see not only that you guys deeply care about the artists, you have these personal relationships. You're taking this amazing music and making it popularized for a new generation. And I mean, it is a good business. You guys are doing fantastic. I mean, I hear this music everywhere.
I thank you so much for that. I think a lot about, Sonor Music Edition has been told. People maybe look at us like, hey, this guy have a lot of money to spend on records. Oh, this guy is not the humble one when it comes to, dealing for records or stuff like that. But in reality, we are humans with a huge sense of belongings. And we found out that probably this kind of music was very much made for us. And when you feel something inside you, I can listen to those records every day, maybe charting on that every day, and explain you the track and how it changed over the times, over the 100 times that you listen to it. And that explains you a lot about my passion about Italian music production.
Oh, I love the passion. I love the passion. So you've given us a lot of background on Italian library music and soundtrack music. Well, this music is more popular today than ever. And as I like to say, the future is in the past. This music is heavily sampled. And you talk a little bit about that rejuvenation through sampling.
Yes, of course. I never been scared about the future. So as soon as we reached a solid economical position to build our archive, our catalog, to spread music, we start changing the approach to music because we have seen, for example, it's happening in 2014 or 2013 when Lorenzo did the first Sonor soundtrack of the catalog, lo chiamavano Trinità, played by Franco Michalizzi, where the song titoli went into Quentin Tarantino movie, Django Unchained. It has been, I don't want to tell you like a game changer because in reality there's a lot of Italian music that is well known internationally. Think about Morricone, who is the most famous, but also we had Armando Trovaioli, we had Piero Umiliani, great musicians and composers. We'd had a huge impact also on other international musicians, right? So in reality, I would talk about the unknown musicians. So, who is Maurizio Maiorano Ovimarquattro, who is Mandrassi, a lot of other stuff we made in the label. And we opened our mind into the sample music production. We historically, we always used it to work with the broadcasters. We made Valentino fashion spot a couple of years ago. Our music has been used for Venice Film Music Festival. We used to work for documentaries with Discovery Plus or Sky Network. There has been always a missing bridge between another word, which is the sampling music production. We both, me and Lorenzo, we always raise up the idea of Sonor as an independent publisher, not like a publisher for hip hop or something like that. We just made music spread across the globe for the whatever is the usage. A producer, a supervisor, sound engineer would like to use it or do with it. We found out ourselves with Ono a couple of years ago, immediately after the pop-up event with the Egon in Los Angeles, Rap Cats, together where we was working on a new unknown album, and Michael was with us outside of the shop, and Lorenzo said like, "Hey man, I would like you your honest opinion about that music." And I remember I have this thing in my mind. I think I can delete it. It was Michael listening over the phone that music. Lorenzo had the tape transferred into the mobile because we were in the middle of a pop-up organization, so shipments from Milan, from Rome to Los Angeles, and then the arrangements in Los Angeles, and move all the boxes into the wrap cap shop. So we didn't have time to chat over the latest production. And I remember the face, Michael's face was like, oh man, holy smoke. And was like amazing, right? Because I say, okay, we work hard to make a good potential out of our music, out of our catalog. And that led us, for example, with the music production and collaboration with the Whole Now off-air album, where Michael had the full access to the whole Sonor Music catalog. Man, I'm talking you about 3-4 years of listening hours of music. right? So
Amazing.
not something that you can listen. It's not something you can listen today for tomorrow. It's like you have to pose yourself, close yourself into a room for like 6 months and just listen to those music every day, every hour, every minute, every second, right? Even me, sometimes I forget about something.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So, uh, yeah. And in reality, the collaboration of Ono with Ono has been one of the most exciting stuff, but nothing new or what is really happening since a couple of years now. Think about Alchemist, and I can tell you that because I've seen those people coming to our events just by music and maybe asking information about, we have some folk music. I'm looking for no drums, but just melody, stuff like that, or piano or avant-garde music. So I've seen those people like Kat Kami, DJ Mugs, Alchemist, a lot of people, oh no, Madlib, coming into such music exploration. If I'm not wrong, for example, I was exposed to Madlib because I think he used one of the track of the Roller album, and I think it was a Snip Snap, or I don't remember the track, but he for sure used a sample out of this album, right? So, and we are talking about, Quasimoto album, so it's about 2000 shit, 2000,
Unseen Quasimodo, 2000, 2000.
right?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So, in reality, I discovered that not all the labels are very much known into the hip-hop industry, but let's say producers' grace. But there is a huge interest from producers to get access to those samples and music. So that's why we transform ourselves into a visionary idea that if we would like to make that music surviving all over the time, we can limit us to make the reissue and selling and distribute the reissues all around the world. We should make partnership, collaboration with the other artists that can make the best out of that music. And man, believe me, Ono Offer is an incredible album. I'm not telling that because I love him, but I'm telling that because rarely you can see musicians that are able to transform the original samples into something original at the same time. It's very, very difficult to see that, to hear that, especially in a way in which the hip hop music industry is changing completely into a worldwide mainstream phenomenon, right?
Yep.
You see, most of the music is made out of MacBooks, sampling stuff.
Yeah.
I love to see people that put the needle off the record, listen, scratch back, go back, listen again, trying to find the best profession for what they are looking for. And that's the real legacy of the music itself, not just of the Italian stuff, for the music legacy. Uh, Alchemist, but also Action Bronson, Madlib, Ono, but also Lord Finesse. If you see Craig Digger interview, there's a couple of Italian soundtrack off the shelf. Those people know that if you would like to get something really new and exciting to listen to, whatever is the price, okay, we are not talking about collection stuff, collector stuff, whatever is the price, you have to change your approach to music. You have to discover more. And actually, the Italian library music production from the end of 60 to the whole 80s is not small. It's like 12,000 different pieces, probably more. 15,000 different pieces of music. It means hours and hours of discoveries. Is a very long journey, and most of those tracks never been cleared. So, you know what this means for a producer. there's a huge amount of idea that you can put into the music. I mean, times in which we had people sampling stuff from the 80s, Commodore, Temptation. I love them. So
Yeah.
I don't want to be respectful, but I love them. Uh, Jonas Girl or stuff like that, or even the very deep and underground stuff uh, are over because hip hop is like a huge commercial machine. We sampled everything. We sampled everything from the States. Uh, for me, that I travel a lot all over the year, is very common to see people, big name producers, attending uh, international fair in Den Bosch or even in Milan, or maybe you are in Indonesia and just you are in a very small record shop, and I challenge you to find good records with the Indonesian language in the records. So you must have a visionary mind to remember all the covers, all the lettering. Okay, I found those people with the portable turntable, listening to samples every day, seated on the floor, floating with tons of 45s or album with or without covers, listening to those samples. Very common to see also in Italy, to see also in Milan. Uh, that's the journey into music again. Uh, you can be passionate, deep down into hip hop, or you cannot be. But in reality, there's no evolution without such cultural blend of styles with sample music from every part of the world, produced with good taste, people that spend money to dig records, people who dig records nobody have ever seen before, and bring into the attention of those people who sample that and make $1 million hit. I remember like Kanye West with I remember it was like Amedeo Tomasitak, something like that, who did a hit for $1 million, and they cleared out for like 10,000 euros, something like that. You can say it's correct. It's not me to judge that, right? I just do my job. I do in a old school way. I do with the label. If sometimes I invite people, dig into my archive collection, dig for, listening. We have the setup turntable, two techniques. They can spend the whole day listening to the music, or we can be at an event, we can be at the fair, or we can be in New York, we can be in Los Angeles, whatever. Uh, the most important things is to keep alive the passion. That's what keep us alive. Because, man, I'm not a philosopher, but life's too short and you have to enjoy the best. You you can discuss everything about is correct, is not correct, is good, is not good. It's all about you. If you like it, take it. If you like it, listen to it. If you don't like it, go for something else. That's the beauty of the music. People, not everybody can choose in their life. When we collect music, we can choose whatever we want. And that make us free. That's our freedom. We pay for that. We pay for our freedomness. Right? And that's why music always must be approached with respect, with openness, without prejudice, whatever is the genre. That doesn't matter. Uh,
Yeah.
the next generation will discuss about that. We don't have time now to lose our time on that shit,
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. I think, I think you touched on many interesting things. I like the part that you said about life is too short. From my understanding, you're a wine enthusiast as well.
Totally. Well, well, first, as Italian, Italy uh, That could be that very obscure nation in the grace of the old continent called Europe, is the place of good food, hospitality. We have a very rich environment from north to south, very different landscapes, from the Alps to the Volcan Etna. Then we have the three different sea coasts, so Tirreno, Adriatico, and then we have the Mediterranean Sea, right? We have the island, and we have the rest of the continent. So you should know that in Italy we have like 59 different dialects. We speak 59 different languages, and sometimes it changes, like from one block to another. It's very common in the south, and this is part of the territory that the French people call terroir. It's very amazing. So until I was young, was very easier for me to travel for records and spending time seated on the floor in the bean section and stuff like that, or eventually move out from that block to 3-4 more blocks away to get into another shop or another record collection, because you have a lot of time, right? When you get older, you have family, you have a wife, or you have, your life completely change. You don't have such time to do everything that you like. So, as most part of our life, we spend in balance between your personal interest and the couple interest, the friendship interest, and everything that is around us. So, wine has been, for example, a good match in between the idea to travel, because, we live in a very small country, and we look at the States as a broader country where you have to take a plane from east to west coast, and it's about 8 hours and a half by plane from New York to Los Angeles, right? In Italy, from Milan to Sicily is about 1 hour 30 minutes, right? So most of people travel abroad, but they don't know nothing about the origins, the terroir, So wine has been a natural connection in between of crate digging, so searching for records and discover new regions, new places, and match the time you spend alone with your dusty fingers searching for records in the boxes, with something that you use to recover yourself. I tell you, my wife know that I'm a kind of guy today that, for example, we usually with my wife we book like an apartment in the Alps. We spend like 3-4 days there, closing this very beautiful villa where we have everything. We have the swimming pool, we have the kitchen, we have a big hall where we can relax and spend time together. And what do you want with you? Good music, good friendship, good friends, good wine, good food, everything that fill your life with simplicity. Yeah. So wine has been a natural, evolution with the passion of searching records. Because to get records, you need to travel. To travel, you need to spend money, and if you spend money in a better way, you are more than happy than just having one single record and nothing else. So yeah, that's the main reason.
It's important you get that across, because I want people to know that digging is part of a broader mentality, a broader worldview, and I want everyone to enjoy that, right? Enjoy wine, enjoy world travel, astral travel through music. I think it's good to have a bigger picture. The reason why I do this show is I want to bring digging to another level, and I want people to enjoy the lifestyle element that you're discussing, that feeling. Yeah. I am a big wine fan. A few years ago, I was in a place called Bonn, which is in Burgundy, France.
Okay.
And I went on kind of a wine trip, about 4 or 5 days. Beautiful place in the world. And I'm drinking, going on wine tours daily, and going on little bicycles between villages and drinking in
Yeah.
caverns. It was fantastic. One thing I did learn is I have an allergy to red wine. So,
Yeah,
so
yeah, 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 yeah.
I
Yeah,
got like
yeah,
a
yeah.
permanent skin reaction, which I went to the doctor and I came back to the US to like, dude, you cannot be drinking red wine anymore. So now I just enjoy white.
Yeah, yeah.
Life goes on. There are worse things that could happen. That is my lesson from France. I mean, I intend to go on
But
more wine tours in my life.
but also, Shami, think about that, no? Uh, in reality, today the crate digging as phrase, as words, they are very much abused, no? In reality, most of us, they dig online, they dig through the knowledge of someone else. Everybody show the records of the Instagram dashboard and stuff like that. I do that, so
Yeah.
I'm not complaining. But in reality, most of the amazing people that you are interviewing for the podcast can confirm that the best way to dig records and finding something out of the unexpected situation is when you wonder. You know, you don't have a real scope. How many times we say, okay, today I go record shopping. Maybe you get home with nothing in your hands. Most of the time, when you wonder, you are I don't know. There's like a ancestral elements that combine with the good God and stuff like that. That probably is the right combination of experiencing a higher level of such personal satisfaction with the idea to bring some good music back to you. And those records are not related to the moment itself, are related to the emotions. That's why, for example, for me, but a lot of collectors, it's very difficult to get rid of some stuff. Even if you say, oh, it's just one track, and no, for you, it's a one track. For me, it's an emotion I can get rid of, and I will never forget, and they will be always impressed in my mind. And that's your history. Wine, for example, is another element that combined with the passion for searching records create such kind of magician around you. So, and
I
also
think,
because a good glass of wine is the basis of any friendship. So
yeah,
in
I,
general, I will say I won't complain.
yeah. Music, wine, talking to people. This is the peak of life to me. Yeah. All right, let's play a game. It's a segment of the show that people seem to like the most. It's called Drop a Gem on Them. I'm going to name a record, a subject, anything. You tell me what comes to mind. It can be a personal story, why you like it, anything really. And Augusto Martelli, Crypto Blues.
Well, let's say I have a very special feeling about Augusto Martelli. First, because Augusto Martelli is the music director from Milan, my city. And the second fun fact is that Augusto Martelli used to have the music studio next to my door. So, but okay, we didn't know each other, but you can even understand how many times I pass in front of that studio that today doesn't exist anymore. And looking for such black door, and every time imagine like man, who know what is behind that door? Many records or people after that door immediately behind that door, and there's one important things about Martelli, who has been a pivotal musician in the Italian pop music because he arranged most of the music of Mina. Mina is one of the most famous female voices out of Italy. And good tips for collectors: Mina Canta Brazil. Just listen to that album. It is amazing with the voice, or is amazing. And Augusto Martelli always has been a kind of visionary musician, but at the same time a disruptive musician. And there's the album that we produced that explain you why I say that. There is black music for from white people, right?
Yeah. When I saw that name, I couldn't stop laughing, and the music is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you read the title, you see, no, man, you can be serious about. No, seriously, no, you can be serious about that. This is, for example, a game changer in his production music, because this album has been intended not to challenge the black music culture, but to show off them that also from Italy they were able to play and sound exactly like the black music sound.
Yeah.
Hey, 72.
Wow.
Today we chat about that, but in the past, imagine that the album has been produced for Philips, if I'm not wrong, not a small label, not something made like 100 copies and then discarded in the bins. Made by a big label, and serious musicians, Tullio De Piscopo on drums. So it explains you why the idea of making that album and the music of that album was like, hey, we want to play funk. And that's our idea, to play the music that way. Challenging, but very... I'm surprised that you asked me that, because I always have seen very different reactions to albums like this. I know that most of the people, they don't know the large, variety of music Martelli produced in the past. For the Italians, he's mostly famous for being the music arranger for Mina and other pop musicians of the time. But for us that we look for soundtrack and library music, that specific album is a totally game changer. It is a manifesto, it's not that easy, because we talk about this album 50 years after. But in the 70s, where black people were suffering the condition, the economical crisis, the imagination in the society, non-total freedom in accessing the culture, the university, the study. White manifest is very, very much controversial at the time, right? Luckily, most of the people understood that the idea was nothing to compare white with black, because in the music there's no colors, there's just the music. But certainly we can say it's a very controversial album, not easy to understand, and probably one of the most controversial albums we had in our catalog. No way. We never seen something like that before.
It's a killer record.
Never.
I mean, all of this is interesting context to hear the history.
Yeah.
I can understand why it's controversial, for sure. Very, very good music. I mean, I think our fans would love that one.
Yeah.
Another record, Akada Abali by Arawak. And my pronunciation may be completely off.
All right. I think you are talking about this one.
Yes.
Very famous album among collectors. Um, it's just a great album. And the reason why I feel that album is so amazing is just because it's an imaginary uh, journey into different countries exploited by the music, right? So we have the Arcadia Harlem, Arcadia Bali, Arcadia Bahia, Belfast, Yellow Park, Lima, Athens, Boston, Las Vegas, Bahia Fair. So several places in the world, and there's no common elements among them, if not the music conductor. Our work actually is the acronym of Luciano Simoncini. It's not even credited in the vinyl. You see just the name Arawak. I think most of the collectors know that album because Madlib used it for sampling. He just sampled that album.
Yes.
Um, right.
Yeah.
The users who sampled that album. Uh, Not something that we did. I think was Victor Kiswell from French collector who bring that record to the attention of Madlib. Again, give the right credits is important to give trust to the people who did that job before anybody else. And yeah, this is just amazing. This is crazy rare. Really, I had just twice probably in my life, but I know people. I think Lorenzo found one sealed, which, which we still don't know how it's possible after like 50 years to find one sealed. And for me, the magic of that album, because the music itself, we can say, is not that amazing at all, right? The music is just a journey. And the idea to bring all that places together is like to create connection through the music. And that's the amazing stuff because every time, these are records that change every time you listen to. And changes because it mainly depends on your mood. So sometimes you are more Southern American moods. Sometimes you are more deep into, the Harlem Highway, and you are walking and looking at people around you, all the houses, all the stuff around you. And imagine it's a completely different situation than being in Bahia with a good cocktail and seaside in front of you. That's the music made for moods. This is another aspect of the library music production, right? Because we have the music for image, which is a kind of production. We have the music for comments, which is made for documentaries, another kind of TV production. And then we have just music for moods. I think Arcadia is a kind of library made for moods. And if my mind is not wrong, I haven't seen any use in the past of, spot or TV music production that uses that music. But it was very famous within, the composers, all the technical people that work for synchronization and stuff. But I think most of the people know it because of Madlib using it for his music production, right?
Yeah.
So that's been amazing to see that.
I'm glad you mentioned Madlib, and I think you mentioned also the dealer who brought it to him, Victor. It was also on Dusty Fingers release. So
Yeah,
which I don't know which year it was. Dusty Fingers started in 97, ended like 2000.
95 until 98. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's where I first heard of it, on Dusty Fingers, and kind of just looking on the internet. And it's an incredible record. Madlib does amazing work all the time. Let's say everything in looped up sounds good, plus his rapping. So I mean, for anyone who hasn't heard of it, check that one out. Like, that is a great place to start. Right.
Yeah.
You mentioned this artist many times before, but maybe we could talk about it more. Piero Umiliani, one of the most popular these days was not popular 15
Yeah.
years ago? What comes up when I mention that name?
Well, Piero has been very influential in the way I started looking for library music, and in particular a specific subgenre of TV music production, which were called Mondo Groove. At the time, he used to make music for Scattini, who was the movie director who made Il Corpo, La ragazza fuori strada, La ragazza alla pelle di luna. Is the famous trilogy, right? Piero has been very influential because I found out that he actually was famous also abroad because he did the Mana Mana Paparapam, right? It's a famous theme song everybody know from the Muppets. But in reality, this is not, no? Okay, this is the most iconic music spot he did. But this is perhaps part of the Svezia Inferno e Paradiso soundtrack. But in reality, I think the force of these musicians is the capability to be out of his time. I can spend time listening to his music with my father and see that he can understand that music. Probably it's more for his genius, his way to compose music, and he's a polyedric artist. He has several acronyms: Zalla, Moggi when he used the Moog, Zalla when he was more into electronic. And the sound workshop, in reality, this is his music studio production, has been very influential for a certain amount of artists that use that studio to record a lot of important music. For me, what has been most influential in my way of approaching his music, for sure, the Mondo movies has been fundamental. So I think the most iconic would be that one.
Okay. Il
There is,
Corpo. Okay.
yeah, yeah. This one, I think, Chaser, the first track that opened the soundtrack, is amazing. It's next level funk music made with Rome, with session musicians that were brought together just to make the music of that album and nothing more, right? So the music of this soundtrack is literally next level. It's a true journey into his legacy.
Thank you for sharing. By the way, all of our
Oh
fans are
yeah.
like typing right now, trying to find out the record.
Oh
So
yeah.
thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing.
No. This is part of our conversation, but I think also the another reason, because I mentioned it to you before, the sound workshop had a huge influence for a certain kind of musicians that were composing music, but not music just for the library music production, but just to create a new form of music. And I won't just mention two, which are two of my very favorite, which are the Brands Machine.
Okay.
Brand Machine bring together the artistry of Alessandroni with Sergini, and that music is made out of Liuto Records, which is the Umiliani studio. And I still believe that without his music dedication and the idea to create a studio, which was also, part of a cultural movement in Rome and Florence at the time, most of those albums will never ever see the light. And actually, those are two completely different albums compared to the whole catalog of Umiliani production. So, and there's one more thing to say that Budassi, who is the sound engineer, has been one of the best of the best sound engineer we had out of Italy.
Okay.
Those people were born to make that. They spend hours and hours working on such kind of stuff because they were very profitable at the time. And just because they were free to use acronyms, pseudonym, or change their naming into something very weird and obscure, allowed them to make music with a lot of freedomness. And that has been the key for the success of such kind of music. So Piero had an incredible role, not only for his music, not only for the contribution to a certain kind of music and movie production, but also because this guy allowed other people to make those albums. And without him, probably we won't have such kind of albums. So we pay the dues.
Yeah.
And of course, the sheer daughters of Piero, they are the most incredible women I know in the industry. Very nice person, super nice person, very dedicated to the music of their father. And without their understanding after Piero died, without their understanding of what their father did, today we didn't have nothing much to discuss about Piero because probably we will continue to remind him to remember Piero for Mana Mana, but not for all the other good stuff he did in his music career.
Well, full credit to these people that you're mentioning and yourself and your group at Sonar, because it's throughout all of
Yeah.
my YouTube and Spotify and Apple Music. It comes to me, and I've never heard of this until the past few years. And then I want to learn more, and I research and I
Yeah.
keep learning more. I mean, this is super rare music.
Yeah. And I tell you more because I used to travel a lot in the States. I think I told you a lot of time. I spend most of my time in the States. I'm just back from New York when we met each other, right? A lot has been said about Piero Umiliani as a library and soundtrack composer, but I still believe not as much as his jazz musical introduction, because Piero used to be a jazz musician. I want briefly introduce that album because we made the A Tempo di Jazz, which is very rare, let's say, very impossible to find 45 and master tapes that we at Sonor we recover in a very old and abandoned music studio, and we made the transfer. And this is actually 50, 59, probably 59, 58, 59. Where Piero played the piano. Then we have Bill Gilmore on trombone, Marcello Boschi sax and flute, Ivan Vander tenor sax, Zappulla on drums. So we are talking about the cream of the Italian jazz scene, exactly in the best periods, the intro or the pass from cool to bop and eventually later into hard bop time.
Yeah.
So those musicians were influenced by Blue Note sound, the Impulse years and stuff like that. And there has been a certain moment in which we found out that make a good tribute album to Piero and the jazz legacy was necessary. And we made also this picture of Piero playing the piano during the section, which is nobody have ever seen before, that picture, which is amazing. And I think this is an album that still deserve a lot of attention to understand the Piero Umiliani music and legacy.
That's good. I mean, there's more for me to discover. That's more for everyone to discover. I'm going to bring it to a newer artist, Sven Wunder. What comes to mind when I bring up this fantastic artist?
Well, Sven, I think the music he made with the piano piano records. Now that I work with John, and John look after the music supervision, music production, cover design, of everything we do at Sonor Music Editions. Now I can understand the artistry. Uh, in reality, I'm not surprised about his genius, but I'm surprised that such kind of genius in the music uh, wait so long to come out. Because Van is, and the music he produces is not like just played by himself, but he's also a good conductor. He know how to conduct the big orchestra. He know how to play music. He know how to write music, and you know exactly what he want. And he show up his capacity with several different albums, from Eastern sonority to Italian library music and feel to Japanese kotogo. Is the best example of artist we have today. Uh, I know that Sven is also very passionate about Italian music production, Italian music records. So it's very, again, as we discussed with the hip hop, no? It's very important to see what will be next. Sven is a next level into a new kind of making music in paying tribute, pay honor to the artists of the past, but in a new way to make it. Um, it's just amazing. I think he's one of the artists that surprise me every time he make a new album, because you will never know what he can put on wax. It could be a contamination of Eastern sonorities from Turkish psychedelia and Italian electronic weird stuff, and then maybe bring back you to Japan. It's like a journey. So I love such kind of artists, and not because they are less important, but at the same level, I consider artists like JJ Whitefield, Natural Yogurt Band, with 2 albums with them, produced by Sonor Music Editions, with the music of Sonor Music Editions, uh, and funny stuff that probably I forgot to mention to you. Those are the albums I I'm talking to you. The cover is made by Vivi, and Vivi, she's the daughter of Daniela Casa, and they were musicians of the same label of Arawak.
Oh, crazy.
So, yeah, yeah, the original idea is to keep the style of the old library music stuff alive also for new music. And probably today, those are the 3 albums I play the most, because the way they make new music out of the Italian stuff is just amazing. You just need a huge dose of exploration into listening to those stuff. Make your test very contaminated with several different genres, and probably those are the best example we have today when it comes to library music stuff. So long live to those musicians, and good job also John and Piano Piano Records for bringing such music into our attention, and well deserved for such talented people.
I love
Totally.
to see the success. Like you said, it's a reimagination in a new way. It's not derivative, but it has that soul, and it takes you astral traveling through places, through time. I was lucky enough to discover it not too long ago. Was a big supporter of the show. Ricky
Yeah.
Rigretti put me onto it. I was like, music is fantastic. So I'm glad we talked about it. 24 Karat Black, Ghetto Misfortunes, Wealth. What comes up for you when I mention this classic record?
Well, it's amazing. Uh, but probably for most of the time I say amazing for for everything, but in reality, this is one of the 45 that I used to find when I was young. So it's something that is still in my DJ set. Okay, maybe tomorrow or today I don't have so much time to play like in the past I would. And when we have occasion, we usually put a very well created selection of stuff. Uh, these 45, the original format is 45, never left my bed. Uh, I always made an experiment with a good friend of mine who is an EDM music producer. So I asked him to make like a bit of that 45, using sampling, because uh, even if some passages are very hard to for sampling purposes, unless you know how to cut and reproduce or reconstruct the beat or the melody in that case. I think it's open to several opportunities to be discovered also outside of, hip hop boundaries or contemporary music stuff. So this is something that I love to see what could be the next evolution. And in reality, I'm not very much surprised about that, because uh, one of the powerful messages I discovered into Italian stuff in general, or let's say European stuff, not only Italian, is that they were made with several different flavors. So there are a bunch of records that when you play or listen to after several years, or maybe you forgot into the box and then you find out in a certain moment of your life and play it again, they are very open to a new interpretation of the sound and new exploitation of what is could be done with such music. So that's exactly my feeling when you mentioned that way, because I am probably it's something that I still keep in my boxes, and I play so often. I don't want I don't lie with you. Uh, I like it. It's very aggressive also on the drums, and yeah, I think just today large attention for hip hop producers, but I do believe the potential is something else and uh, could be developed in several different keys. So let's see for
Yeah.
the future.
I'm glad to hear your take on it. The reason why I brought it up, I mean, you're obviously an Italian person. This is like a American breakbeat record, right? It is a fantastic funk record, heavily sampled. It's kind of when you start beat digging, this is like one of the first grails you might
Yeah,
learn
yeah.
about. It's one of my personal favorites. So I just wanted to hear your take. I mean, we've been speaking about very rare music. So I wanted to get your impression on this maybe more well-known track. I,
And believe me, there is still. I know that pretty much today now in the world of social dashboard, we are exposed to a lot of, records. Something is well known, something is known, something is still unknown. But in reality, I do believe there's much to discover. And literally, the idea to make music out of that 45 is very much my idea of the searching and discovery. Uh, it's very unusual for us to make, music out of 45, because usually when you find the master tapes, maybe you find the original version, the edit version, which is shorter, and maybe you don't have enough space for, hidden track or something like that. So every time it's like a bet. But every time you transfer the music, you expose the tape into consumption. Maybe you can broke the tape and you have to adjust it, so you have to spend money. Is a very delicate word, and you have to be very professional to work in that way, right? Uh, but when it comes to such kind of music, I think we don't have any hesitation to do that, and probably Lorenzo will agree with me. Um, we must be visionary when it comes to music, right? Not everything will be understood today, but probably will be in the future. Not just right now. Maybe we are not prepared.
I appreciate everything you've said today. I have one question for you. What excites you about the future?
Well, I'm always very excited about future because this is my idea of music as a continuous journey. Now, something that accompanies you in every part of your life, your moments, from when you are exposed to the public, when you are exposed to your job, with your job, or when you are just uh, alone at home and just enjoying, you're relaxing and having fun with friends or whatever. So the most exciting thing for the future is seeing that there's a lot of interest around the Italian music phenomenon, and that makes me feel very proud, uh, very positive about the potential of that music can bring to the future development of the industry. um, I see new artists embracing such kind of revolution. So new music, like they was made in the 70s or in the 80s. Uh, for sure, the television won't be discarded in the trash in the short terms, and with the connected TV is even better. So we are exposed to a more large variety of contents and contents production. So there's still space to grow and making music available across the globe. And that's my ideal things because uh, I have been very down into library music collection. With my collection, actually, this is just a small part of the archive. We in Rome, we have the permanent label archive with all the records coming from the musicians, from the producers, from the labels. So this is like the museum of our history. And I see more people paying attention to us, and this is uh, very exciting. I'm not complaining about people who access information through the main online platform, or dig online, or dig in the beans, or dig for expensive records. I don't care. Everybody's in his personal journey. Probably we will be together in the heaven, and we can discuss about if it's better playing Umiliani or playing James Brown album. But for now, I don't care about that because I enjoy music. I like to share music with the people. Uh, I don't see any complexity in sharing knowledge. Uh, and I tell you that because when you start having, such important pieces in your collection, people invite you, people fear you, but they forget that we are human. We dig as human. We are not robots, right? So we make errors. We buy records that we believe they are good, and in reality they are shit. And we continue to buy. We get impossible to find records, and we continue to buy cheap records. That's all about the story. Actually, every collector has a complex, and probably until we find out, an antidote to save us, it will be that way, man.
It has been fantastic speaking with you, Andrea. It's been such a pleasure. Thanks for your time, brother.
I thank you for having me to your show. I appreciate your question. I appreciate your openness, and hopefully there will be more Italian library collectors join your show, debate about such music, and keep up the good work, man.
Thank you. I think what you shared has educated me, and our listeners will get so excited to look up all of those names you mentioned, and that's part of sharing the knowledge. So I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Peace.
My pleasure.
Peace.
Peace to you.